Hi, gals. I'm Carol here, and I'm going to talk to you today about Sarah. As we talked about Eve last time, I want to first start with telling you what Sarah's name means because it meant so much to me as I brought out in the book. My dad used to call me Princess, so it was a very precious name to me. And Sarah was the only woman in Scripture who had a name change. She went from Sarai, S-A-R-A-I, to S-A-R-A-H. Both Sarai and Sarah mean princess. One, however, Sarai, is a contentious princess, and the other is a godly princess. We all want to be the Sarahs today, S-A-R-A-H, not S-A-R-A-I. But in preface to this, Carol's question, before I get into the next question, is, are we in this business, gals, about growing or grumbling? Oh, so many times I get in the grumble category, and I can see all that's going wrong, and I stop and say, God, why did you bring me here? You brought me here to grow me through this. And looking back over my life, it's in the tough times that I've grown. So I'm praying over us today that we be growers, not grumblers. But the question that I want to focus on first in the back at the end of Sarah, and I believe it's question number 4, is there anything too hard for God? Oh, so many times in my walk, I thought, that is just impossible. And I have to bring in what my sweet mom oftentimes says. She always says to me, won't it be wonderful 5 years from now to look back and see why and how and what for this all worked together for good for. Oh, I thank you that she's given me that perspective, and I want you to claim that perspective today too, because there is nothing too hard for God. It's the Christian time of growing and trusting. But let's jump into the lesson, because Sarah's a pretty great gal. Initially, I didn't think I was very much like her, and I want to be like her. But she was married to a real special guy, Abraham. And in Genesis 12, 1 through 3, he is given by God the Abrahamic covenant, we call it. And that is, you will be blessed to be a blessing. And what that means is we're not just given blessings for God, but we as God's people need to share those blessings with others who we come in contact with. And then he goes on to say, those who bless you will be blessed, those who curse you will be cursed. But I don't want us to miss verse 7, because he says in that verse, to your offspring, or seed, not seeds, but seed, meaning one. Later on, that's Jesus Christ. To your seed, I will give this land. One of the most important things Jewish people have is the land. It still is very, very important. And the land is passed from father to son, so it stays in the family. If there's no son, oftentimes it does go to the number one servant. But he promises them that there will be a seed and that he will have a son to inherit the land. Oh, that promise was passed on to Sarah, and she must have thought at that point, boy, I'm going to have a son, and I'm going to have a whole bunch of kids, and okay, I'm ready to start this faith walk with this husband of mine, and let's go, Abraham. That's the first step. The first step is a step of faith. Now ladies, a time that could be grumbling for Carol, she trudged around with that man for 25 years. Going through deserts, going through 2 harems, going to Egypt, coming back again. I would love to tell you that I wouldn't have grumbled during that time, but I just think I might have. And my friend who's sitting across from me, praying for me, is smiling at me. I think the 2 of us have grumbled sometimes together. But at any rate, she walked through things. The second step was one of, she fouled up. We all foul up. It's called sin. And you know why it was hard on her? She was barren. She had a barren belly. It was a sign back then that if women didn't produce, it was a judgment by God. Gals, I had a time, I have 2 beautiful children, but I had a miscarriage. One night I went to bed pregnant and with a child growing inside me. And the next day I lost that child. I know what it feels to have fullness and then a barren belly, and it's hard. And she was struggling. And why do I call this the season of foul up? She thought, well, I've had enough of this, because we feel it was about halfway through this 25 years. She said, I'm giving my servant girl to Abraham, and she's going to have a child, and it's going to be mine. And so God, I'm showing you how we can do this together. How many times have I done that? Hagar did have a child. The child's name was Ishmael. That child and Hagar were very, very kind of a thorn in Sarah's side for many, many years. She didn't handle it real well. She wanted her son away. He came back, Hagar came back and was there, and the child grew to about 13 until Sarah finally had Isaac. But now she had a faith time. She had a foul up time. But she's had a time where she finishes well. And I want to bring that out. She's told by some men, her husband's told, that when they come back a year from now, Sarah is going to have a child. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Her husband was 100. She was 90. There were no reproductions left in Sarah. She was really barren. When we feel the most barrenness is when he fills us up, ladies. Don't give up during those times. Ask him to be your filler up. Ask him to come and take care of your barrenness. Ask him to be your God, and he will. And a year later, our sweet friend Sarah, after all her struggles, was able to hold that precious child Isaac in her arms. I just this past weekend got to hold my 7-month-old grandbaby, and it was a time of great joy, as I know she was. And they named him Isaac, and it means he laughs. She was laughing and giggling with this precious child. A barren lady was filled up. And we, if we're feeling barrenness, we ladies can be filled up, because nothing is too difficult for God. He loves you so much, and I do too. Thanks.